Everybody, and thank you for joining us.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us at this special meeting of the City Council, City of Madera, and a regular meeting of the Housing Authority of the City of Madera. Today is Wednesday, July 8th at 6 p.m. And this meeting will be conducted pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order, which suspends certain requirements of the Ralph M. Brown Act. The City Council meeting will be live streamed on the city's website, and members of the public may participate remotely through an electronic meeting in the following ways: via phone by dialing 669-900-9128, and the ID number is 926-6206-5347. The password is 999902. We will also accept comments via email at citycouncilpubliccomment@madera.gov. With that, I'll call for roll, please, for both meetings.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Commissioner Andy Medellin.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Commissioner Santos Garcia.
Here.
Council Member Commissioner CC Foley Gallegos.
Here.
Council Member Chairperson Jose Rodriguez.
Here.
Council Member Vice Chairperson Steve Montes.
Here.
Council Member Commissioner Derek Robinson.
Present.
Council Member Commissioner Donald Hawley.
Present.
Thank you very much, Alicia. If you're able to stand, I would ask that you would, for the invocation, please, being led by our own Councilman Donald Hawley, and immediately after will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council partners. Most Lord gracious Father, we come to say thank you for this day. Thank you for our staff on the Housing Authority as well as the city. We want to give you praises and great adoration for what you are doing in our lives, Lord. We ask that you look at our families and go with them and stand by them. Lord, we say we trust you, but so often we get impatient and forget that you are always there at our side. Help us in our times of trial and hold onto the trust that you have for us. In Jesus Christ's name we say, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Mr. Councilman. Now, if you'll prepare for the pledge, please. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of
America, to the
Republic,
which is stand
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. And now I'll move into the approval of the agenda. I think maybe we should take these separately. So let's do the approval of the agenda for just the city council portion only at this point. There are no changes, questions, or concerns about the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Hawley and seconded by Councilman Robinson to approve the special meeting of the Madera City Council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much for that. And moving into public comment, because this is a special meeting, members of the public shall have an opportunity to address the City Council regarding matters on this agenda. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. Alicia, do we have any public comment about this evening's agenda? Regarding this evening's agenda?
Regarding this evening's agenda, no, Mayor.
Any other public comment?
Yes, but not in regard to an item that's on tonight's agenda.
When was that received, may I ask?
10 minutes before the meeting began.
I'm going to ask that it go ahead and be submitted this evening. If you can go ahead and read it, please.
Of course. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. DJ Becker. I am speaking to you tonight as a private citizen and as a resident. I continue to be very concerned about why the City of Madera has apparently done nothing about recovering the cost of our municipal well contamination. I discovered this alarming fact buried in a 400-plus page water report update and put it on the front page of our newspaper, the Madera Tribune, in December of 2018, and nothing was done. I have repeatedly mentioned this in subsequent conversations with most of you. The current plan in the water update report appears to pass on the $21 million in cost of drilling new wells along to our struggling ratepayers. Fresno, Kingsburg, Sanger, and other cities have been proactive and all recover millions of dollars in damages to replace their wells from the chemical companies that polluted our Central Valley groundwater. Now another city with failing and contaminated wells, Early Mart, population 8,700, has recovered $5.7 million according to news reports. However, they can't currently drink or even bathe in their existing water. Taking this legal action won't likely cost Madera anything, as legal costs are typically paid out from the settlements. All we need to do is contact the same specialist law firms that these large and small cities have recently used to recover their millions of dollars. Then we can pay to drill our own new wells that we know that Madera needs. Are we too busy or too complacent to make those phone calls now? This is a huge public health and safety problem that will take Madera years to remedy. The city needs to move forward immediately to protect the supply of drinking water that all of our residents rely on. What are we waiting for? Let's not delay and end up in the same crisis situation where we can't drink or use our own water. Thank you, DJ Becker.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Was that the one and only comment received?
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Moving on to our first item. This is item A1, letter of support on behalf of the Madera County Transportation Commission grant application for the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Arnoldo Rodriguez, the city manager. The item before you this evening is a request to submit a letter of support on behalf of the city supporting the Madera Transportation the Madera County Transportation Commission for a grant application that they will be submitting to widen Highway 99 between Avenue 12 and Avenue 7 here in the county of Madera. While this does not impact the properties within the city, collectively, we also understand that it's not only a city issue or a county issue, it's really a regional issue that impacts Madera, Fresno, our neighbors to the north of us in Merced County. Whenever we can ever get the movement of people and goods through our area faster, that bodes very well for us in the long term in terms of economic development and making sure that our community members have access to quality transportation. So with that, again, this item does not require any financial support from the city. Rather, it's a letter of support to the grantor, notifying them that the city of Madera is in support of the county's grant application. So with that, thank you very much, Mayor, and I'll turn it over to the council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. Any questions for Mr. Rodriguez regarding this particular item? Thank you for that report, Arnoldo. Although it was short, it was very impactful. This is something that as a member of Madera County Transportation Commission over the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. and lobby for transportation dollars. And you're absolutely right. This is a regional issue. The 8 counties that make up the Central San Joaquin Valley understand the importance of goods movement. And as we know, the Central San Joaquin Valley is an ag-based area. And so as we're trying to move produce, as we're trying to move livestock, as we're trying to move milk on the 99 this time of year, July and August, when it's 105 or 110 degrees and we have congestion on 99, that really, really hurts. And there was a time where there was a 100-mile stretch of freeway on the 99 going through the Central San Joaquin Valley that it was deemed the most dangerous stretch of highway in the entire nation. So as we're moving forward right now on the 6 lanes in the middle of town, this is just as important. And it seems as though every time Sacramento feels that they need to find money somewhere to plug some holes, it's transportation dollars, and it's always the Central San Joaquin Valley. So we need to continue to keep fighting for these dollars so that we can have the stretch from Fresno going all the way through Madera up into Chowchilla, 6 lanes contiguously. So thank you for your efforts on that. I just wanted to make that brief statement. If there's no other questions or comments, and I don't believe we've received any comment regarding this one from the public, I'll entertain a motion on item A1.
I so move to approve A1 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Gallegos and seconded by Councilman Robinson to approve item A1 as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you for that. Moving on to item A2, this is a certification form for receipt of the CARES Act funds from the state of California and related documents. Mr. Sanchez.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. If I may share my screen with you for It says the host disabled participant screen sharing. Can that be enabled?
And would that be Maria or Sally from the Housing Authority?
Let me confirm with Maria, one moment.
Okay, thank you.
I know I don't have control of it. I'm just a participant.
Mr. Mayor, if you're the host, I believe you can grant Roger that ability to do so.
Sally, is Maria available?
Yes, she is.
Just
Maria?
sent her in the chat.
I'm not sure if I'm hosting or Maria is.
The participant listed that Ivan is the co-host.
Mr. Mayor, I could give the report without the PowerPoint if you desire. It's a short presentation.
Mr. Mayor, you can click on his name and then on the participants, click on his name, and I think it allows you to make him the host.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Give me a quick second. And I'll do that. Okay. Why don't you try it now, Roger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Jose.
Worries, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, council members, before you is a certification for CARES Act funding. It's certifying a form that we need. So the CARE funding was act was signed into law on March 27, 2020 of this year. And so the city did not meet the population requirements to receive the funds like the other cities, the larger cities. If you recall, they were able to receive those funds from the federal government. However, the state of California did receive some funds related to the 2020 and 2021 budget. And so the state of California allocated some funds to the smaller cities, including the city of Madera. So the current portion allocated to the city of Madera is $807,688, and this is based on population. Those will be monthly installments provided in the upcoming months, and any funds that are unspent, they need to be returned to the state. So this is for COVID operating expenses, COVID-19 related expenses. So in order to apply for this, the city must submit a certification form by this coming Friday, that is July 10th. And so the city would be certifying the following. So we need to adhere to the federal guidance and stay at home requirements and other health requirements as directed in the through the executive order and any subsequent executive orders and all California Department of Public Health orders, directives, and guidance in response to COVID-19. And so we are in compliance with all of those things. We also need to use the funds in accordance with applicable provisions to the subdivision of Control Section 1190 of the Budget Act of 2020. We need to report expenditures and summarize regional collaboration and non-duplication of efforts within the region by September 1st, 2020, and return any funds that are unspent by October 30th of this year. We need to retain records to support and report COVID-19 eligible expenditures and participate in any related audits. So we're keeping detailed records, and we've been doing so since March and especially April of this year. So with that, the staff recommends that the city mayor be authorized to execute the certification required for the receipt of CARES Act funding allocated by the state. So that's what we recommend if you approve and vote on this. And with that, if you have any questions.
Mr. Sanchez, thank you very much for that report. Any questions, Mr. Sanchez? Yes, Councilman Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Member Dillon. So Roger, just wanted to clarify, this certification is to grant us, you said, an allocated amount that's there for us, and your staff report says the funding would directly reimburse. So does that mean that we have to expend out first, have the expenses before we can get that? I'm assuming that we already have quite a few expenditures on the COVID-19. So by the time we submit this certification, we would have a certain amount up to 807,000, correct?
Well, what the state will do is they will give the full amount, the over 800,000. They're going to give the full amount, but they're going to do it on a monthly basis.
Installment.
Yes, in monthly installments. So we already have the records as to how much we spent related to COVID. And so because we're going to receive the full amount at the end of October, we're going to see if we have any leftover that we need to return to the state.
So you'll get the money in the installments, for separate installments, and well, I'm assuming that we've incurred just as much expenditures just in the last couple of months. So I wouldn't see that the city would give back any. I mean, there's such a big need. So just want to clarify that we're not having this money allocated somewhere and we're getting reimbursed for expenses. We already have expenses, right?
We already have expenses, Councilmember Rodriguez, and they're going to give the full amount, but we need to be doing the accounting to make sure that if there's any leftovers, let's say that we spend only 600,000, we need to return the remainder to the state.
Gotcha. Yeah, got it. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Councilman. Any other questions from council? If no further questions or discussion, I'll call for action on this item.
Move to approve item A2 as presented.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Rodriguez and seconded by Councilman Montes to approve item A2. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Appreciate that report. And I agree. There shouldn't be anything sent back. Moving on to admin reports, our last item. As you remember, as council remembers, we had a nice presentation recognizing Mr. Ma last week and the relationship with Elon, our sister city, and they made a wonderful donation of masks and gloves. So it looks like item B1 will be deliberation and discussion about the disbursement of those masks and gloves. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Council members, the item before you this evening, it's a discussion about what's the best strategy for either donating or distributing the 10,000 masks that we received last week from Director General Joseph Ma of the Sister City program from Taiwan. As the council may recall, last Tuesday, we had a brief press conference here at City Hall where we were provided 10,000 masks and 2,000 pairs of gloves. At the request of the Sister City program, we provided the school district 1,500 masks. These masks are they're disposable masks. They're the small blue ones that you typically see at medical facilities. And then we also provided 100 masks to the Madera Tribune. Again, this was at the request of the Sister City program. After consulting our city attorney, the donation does appear to fall under under the Political kind of Reform Act. And so in an abundance of caution, we figured that it would probably be most appropriate to bring the item before the council for discussion and direction, just to be sure that we're covering our bases. So today's discussion is it's direction from the council about how to best go about appropriating these supplies to our local partners. A couple of items or a couple of partnerships that we could explore, and this is not intended to be exhaustive. This is simply to throw a couple of options out. We could potentially donate them to the Chamber of Commerce or in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, and they in turn can identify local businesses that may want to require them for their customers. And I'm saying may with an emphasis on may, because this again is not exhaustive. It's not set in stone. It's truly intended for staff to receive feedback from the council and direction from council. Again, kind of with the goal of this being that those businesses would distribute them to their customers and no charge to the customer. One of the things that I don't think we would want to see occur is to have local businesses capitalize on a donation that we received from the Sister City program. Some other potential partners could potentially be high traffic retailers. We've identified a couple of here. Again, it's not exhaustive. Walmart, the local swap meet, some of the grocery stores here in town, Food for Less, Save Mart, Rancho San Miguel. Another option is that we could target small businesses, specifically those in historically lower income neighborhoods. For example, the Yosemite area, the El Toro Local Shopping Center on D Street, the former Bridge Store area, North Street corridor along Cleveland Avenue, Pecan Avenue, and Madera Avenue shopping centers. So there are a couple of neighborhoods or a couple of shopping centers which I think collectively the community would acknowledge that they're financially depressed areas, and maybe those are ideal places to distribute those. So again, there are a couple of approaches. While we currently have 8,500 masks on hand, that sounds like a large number. Unfortunately, we probably need quadruple that, and we probably still need more on top of that. So again, this is simply for discussion purposes. We could also, and I'm saying the council can direct staff to target farm working communities, organizations that attempt to assist farm workers. For example, we could reach out to the Ag Commission, to the Farm Bureau is another one, Central Valley Opportunity Center that has a strong presence here in Madera. That's a tri-county nonprofit organization that has their office here locally on Pine Street. We could also partner with some healthcare providers, for example, Camarena, Planned Parenthood. Madera Community Hospital is not on here, but we can obviously partner with them. Local dentist office, can that mean need some? And we can also partner with homeless service providers, for example, the Rescue Mission, Griffin Hall, Hope House, CAPMC, Madera Community Food Bank, the Housing Authority. And so again, this is intended to really open it for discussion and for council to receive direction from council this evening. So that is my last slide. But again, the entire idea is to simply receive direction from council, and wherever council feels it most appropriate, staff would follow up with local community partners. The city, we could always use them for city employees as well. However, I think right now with the number of cases that we're seeing locally, we have seen, not to sound theatrical, but somewhat of an explosion of local cases recently. And I think the goal is to try to get these out to the end user immediately. And again, while the city organization could use some, I think right now we would probably be served if we can get them in the hands of people that are truly in immediate need. So with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor and the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Councilman Robinson has his hand up. You're on mute, Mr. Councilman.
Yeah, since Governor Newsom required all churches to stop singing, I think that those gloves and masks should be distributed to all the churches in the city and some in the county. And also, you can contact the pastoral committee, and I'm sure they can divvy it up. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Councilman. Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I believe that if we can get our most bang for our buck here, there's a limited supply until we get more. I believe helping the small businesses, emphasis on small businesses in our community, to be able to help them make sure that they're politely asking, requiring folks before they enter their establishments to obtain a mask, bring in a mask, or obtain a free mask as they enter the premises. This, of course, is to protect the employees from transmission. Another example you mentioned, Arnoldo, is nonprofits. Nonprofits are distributing foods. They're handing out foods on a regular basis in our communities. I know for a fact that I've been helping the United Farm Workers at the Madera Fairgrounds, and they were averaging 3,000 meals distributed there at one point. I believe it's become less because it's gotten really hot out there, but they also have a regular program where they have folks coming in and picking up food. So if we can concentrate on small businesses and nonprofits to be able to do this, I think that would be a really good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilman Montes had his hand up, and then Councilwoman Gallegos after that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I would like to see them distributed into the lower income areas. I don't know if we can use the funding that we talked about in this last in item A2 to see if staff can get them out. And I hate to put the burden on staff, but if there is going to be some opportunities to, I don't know, to make sure that none of that money goes back to the state, that we utilize it for COVID-19 functions, using some of the demographic information in our housing elements to kind of direct where those go. But I don't have any problem partnering with nonprofits or the faith-based community or organizations. I think they'll probably be able to identify a lot of the need, especially the Hispanic Ministerial Association. They might be able to kind of capture some of those areas where farm workers, lower income areas. I don't know if we've reached out to them as well, or we can, but that would be my opinion or my suggestion.
Great. Thank you for that suggestion, Mr. Councilman. Councilwoman Gallegos, and then Councilman Rodriguez.
Great suggestions, and Arnoldo, thank you for that PowerPoint. I just had the one question about, I know we have our max buses not running at full capacity, but if we could distribute some to the buses, the people that are getting on our max buses or dial-a-ride would have either the gloves and the mask to help protect our drivers. And I'm sure when they get on there, have packages, they're not always thinking, oh, my mask, do I have a mask? Or just trying to get from here to there. So I would suggest that.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Very good point. Thank you very much for that comment. Councilman Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Member Dillon. So I agree with a lot of the suggestions that my colleagues have given, also the staff as the presentation. I don't know if we can divide this. I think there's 10,000 masks, City Manager.
And no, we have donated 1,600, I believe, is what we've donated. So there's approximately 8,400 remaining off the top of my head, Council Member.
Okay, so that's no different than the money that we received from the CDBG. Obviously, it doesn't really go that far out. So I'm not sure if we can divide this into, I was thinking 100 masks for 84 businesses, and I'm not sure within your presentation and what the colleagues have mentioned, if that would be suffice to donate to these businesses. More importantly, I think Commissioner Councilmember Garcia had mentioned small businesses, but emphasizing more on the businesses that had to shut down and incur a cost because of the executive order, and then maybe helping those struggling businesses by providing them some masks. I think they're only allowed to provide some carry out and what have you, but they certainly have employees, and I'm sure they're incurring some cost there by not being fully open. So I would encourage to maybe divide that amongst, I don't know, I say 84 businesses, but I'm not sure if that would really reach out to all businesses that are in need of this. I know that the city has quite a few, but I think the list that you provided and what my colleagues have also mentioned, I think we can certainly try to get those out to them and the ones in the biggest need with either the Chamber of Commerce, EDC, obviously churches were mentioned, but again, I know that that's not going to be enough. In combination with maybe what we're doing in the city, we can certainly try to help aid some of that, some of the issues that are arising with our small businesses.
Thank you very much, Mr. Councilman. All great suggestions, and I see Mr. Rodriguez, our city manager, writing them all down. So it sounds like we got some fairly good direction. And again, I think they're all great suggestions. Just a couple of things I have, Mr. Rodriguez. One, I know Crystal had kind of mentioned, and she had asked you to kind of divvy them up or send some of them to, as you mentioned, the school board. Was there any other assumption by our sister city about the mask being used, or was this really just a very gracious donation to use how you wish or how the city wishes?
My interpretation is that it was a very gracious donation, and it was largely left up to the city council to decide what the most need is or the greatest need of the masks are. The other item that we can definitely come back to council is going back to a point that Councilmember Montes had made earlier. We could use some of the CARES funding that we're eligible for now to purchase reusable masks. So the funds that Roger talked about in the previous item, those funds were not anticipated when we were preparing the city's fiscal budget for the current fiscal year. The reason that it seems like it just kind of sprouted upon us, that's because it did. We've been given a very short time frame. As of 2 weeks ago, we were not projecting to receive these funds. There was talk about it, but it came really fast. So we could come back before council at a future council date to identify or to earmark some of those funds to go towards the purchase of reusable masks. The other thing that we're taking a look at is on the Madera Metro bus system, is using some CARES funds of the $6.6 million that we're eligible for to purchase some reusable masks for the bus riders as part of that system. So I think we have a couple of different options here. I think it's going to be a combination of different pots of money, but then at the same time trying to get some reusable masks in some of the folks that really need them. I think it is going to be critical. And so we'll come back to council at a future date. But for the meantime, I think we have a pretty good list of different partner agencies and organizations that we can approach, just knowing that the goal is to try to get them. But going back to what Councilmember Rodriguez said a little while ago, there's probably just not going to be enough for everyone. And so we'll try to divide them up as best we can. But if council collectively knows of an organization or a business that's in dire needs, just please let us know so we can try to make sure that we're getting them in the hands of the right individuals. Because again, at the end of the day, we definitely wouldn't want individuals to capitalize on this opportunity,
right?
Because again, it was a donation, and we just want to be sure that we're, truly, helping those in greatest need.
Thank you very much for that. And that was really kind of my suggestion. I really don't want to sound insensitive when I say this, but there have been a lot of donations by very gracious donors in our community and around the Central Valley to different entities. And so there are some that have not received any donations whatsoever. So I guess I'm just trying to say that, yes, if we can do our best to get them in the hands of the most needed, I think that would be fantastic. I really like the idea of those small businesses, restaurants that are really going to take another hit by having to be shut down for at least 3 weeks. And I really like Councilwoman Gallegos' suggestion. I got you, Mr. Councilman. I'll be there in just a second. I really like Councilwoman Gallegos' suggestion with our public ridership, although it's limited. If we can also look into not only having masks and gloves on hand, but those portable or those sanitizing stations, the sanitizer on the buses as well. I think that would help both our customer as well as our drivers. Councilman Hawley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. What we leave out is like a lot of these little small stores, these mom and pop stores. We go by there and maybe drop off 50 at each store in these different neighborhoods. It really helped them a lot because as I've been traveling around to go into these stores, I noticed that a lot of them are coming in without masks on. And to emphasize that the store owners need to be wearing them as well. So maybe if we gave them a donation, hey, here's 100 masks for anybody come into your store, try to use them and see what it does for them. They can let them know that we are caring about what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for all your input. Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
Yeah, one last thing really quick. I was able to obtain a donation of masks from the Fresno Madera Tulare King Central Labor Council. And over a 2-day period, I was distributing them. So I learned very quickly, you walk into an establishment and if they're selling them, I asked them if I donated some masks to them, would they sell them? And they would say yes. So I quickly said, well, thank you very much, but these are for establishments that are not selling them and that they would give away. And so I was able to go to a bunch of them that were not selling them and give them those masks. So just kind of like a heads up, make sure that they're entrepreneurs and they want to, sell them if possible. But this is a donation. And so we need to make sure that they get into the right hands.
I agree.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Councilwoman Gallegos.
Just really fast. I know we're looking at things, people, and are important, but one thing I don't think we realize too is a lot of our medical professionals aren't getting the supplies that they need. And one example is Sammy went to get blood work at Quest, and if you didn't have a mask, you couldn't get your blood work. And there was people that were being turned away, and because they didn't have one, they didn't have one in their car, so they'd have to go buy one or come back another time, and they have appointments. And so if they had a supply of them to give to our community members, they would get their blood work getting taken care of and be more healthy, find out what's going on. And we're thinking, our medical professionals have them and some of our businesses don't. And so that might be another avenue to look at too.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Rodriguez, does that suffice as far as direction?
It's a laundry list. We will try to do our best to make sure. Now, there's a lot of organizations and different groups that are in need. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to be very careful with how we do, in terms of how we distribute them. Just knowing that no one group is going to get a tremendous amount, but rather it's going to be a small donation. But again, it's the thought that counts. Right. And it's reaching out to our partner organizations to make sure that we're there and to try to support them as best we can in times like this. So.
And I know Director General Ma is not listening right now, but it just shows the importance of that donation at 10,000 masks and the need, not only in our city, but cities nationwide, and just how precious they are. And we're very, very grateful. And it's kind of a great problem to have. So again, thank you to our sister city. Okay, there's nothing to vote on. I think it was just direction.
Correct. Thank you.
And so if there's nothing else, there are no council reports. We will save that for the Housing Authority portion. So I will adjourn this meeting until our next regularly scheduled meeting for the City Council, which is July 15th, 2020. With that, I would like to turn it over to the